We're going to be talking about the science of complete reality. Western science talks about objects mostly, things outside. It doesn't talk about consciousness. It doesn't know how to put consciousness in the picture because it's taken it out of the picture to start off with. And that raises a lot of problems in the consistency of Western science. In the Vedic wisdom tradition, it deals with both the material world in which we are situated and also the conscious person who's situated in the material world. So it's a science of complete reality. And that's what I want to talk about today. So this science establishes, it gives scientific knowledge of both of consciousness and of matter, and of the basis of both, what it is that's sustaining and maintaining consciousness and matter. And it shows what is consistent knowledge, what is inconsistent knowledge. And in this way, this module makes a basis for the whole of the rest of the program of Vedic post-materialism. So one can ask, what's the point of talking about Vedic principles? Because the Vedic principles, find in Bhagavad Gita, the Vedic literatures, they were written down hundreds, thousands of years ago. What does this have to do with modern society? People may think this is archaic, it's outdated, but this is not the fact. The Vedic knowledge, you can say the Vedic wisdom is like the universal help files or the user's manual for life in the universe. So it's just as applicable now as it was thousands of years ago. As against, for example, scientific knowledge, which is outdated within 20 or 30 years. There's hardly anything in the modern body of science which has been continuing for the last 200 years. So, modern society is based on science and technology. And this has got advantages and it's got disadvantages. The advantages are, for those who are living in the first world with plenty of money, that they have information at their hands, they've got all the advantages of modern technology, transport, information, so many things. But the downside is tremendous. Even for people who are enjoying the benefits of modern technology, we're living in a society which is increasingly disintegrating. Transport is there, but transport means more mobility. The structure of society is breaking, the family is crumbling. We've got modern medicine, but on the other hand, we've got a host of new diseases. Cancer now, it's said in America, 1 in 2 males will get cancer and 1 in 3 females. But 150 years ago, cancer was almost unknown. Society is breaking down. We see an increase in violence, in crime, rape, all sorts of unrest, a breakdown of the values in society. So this is a downside of science and technology. And we can see a direct connection. Because science and technology, modern science and technology, it deals with objects. It doesn't deal with the subject. But values are subjective. Higher human values are subjective. So science and technology has become accurate, effective, at the cost of cutting the subject out completely. And by cutting out the subject, it's cutting out subjective values. So there's a lot of knowledge, but there's not a great deal of wisdom how to use the knowledge or even whether to use the knowledge. So we need a new paradigm. Science and technology can't provide that paradigm because science and technology don't deal with the person. It doesn't deal with the personal aspect of reality. Faith religion gives us values, but generally they're tied in with beliefs. So this means that neither science on the one hand, material science on the one hand, nor faith religion can give us non-sectarian, universal non-sectarian principles. That's what's required. Both science and religion deal with entities which are far outside our everyday experience. Science is talking in terms of atoms, electrons, molecules, quarks, strings, probabilities, subatomic particles. We don't have any direct experience of these things. And religion is talking about God, the soul, and also that is also outside the sphere of our direct everyday experience. So the Vedic wisdom tradition, the whole approach is different. It gives us a direct view, it focuses our attention on our direct experience now, how we experience the world, what is the nature of our experience, and also what is the nature of the conscious self who's experiencing. It's very, very immediate. It gives us a logical structure of reality. We can see our view and experience of reality is composed of different elements. So it shows us what is the logical dependence of these elements, what depends on what depends on what. And in this way we can find out what can be a consistent explanation and what kind of explanations are bound to be inconsistent. And we'll see that the reality statements in objective science, they're consistently inconsistent. So we'll go into that more in general as we go on through the module. So after putting us in touch with the direct nature of experience and what we're experiencing, then the Vedic wisdom tradition puts us in touch with the universal source of power and potency, the power of the individual conscious self, which after all is driving everything, is driving science, is driving the whole of human society. And then the power and potency of the universal self, which is sustaining, according to the Vedic tradition, it's sustaining both the existence and nature of the individual self and also of matter itself, the world in which we're living, and all of the ecological and psychological communities within the world. So, as a result of this module on science of reality, you'll get a completely different way of thinking. Not only in thinking in terms of the content of knowledge, which is what our science and philosophy and general culture usually deals with, but also the context. What it is which is obtaining knowledge, what is the nature of knowledge, and then the framework within which all of this is taking place. So now we're talking in terms of the Vedic wisdom tradition. We're talking from the Vedic framework. The Vedic wisdom tradition, it's the oldest and most comprehensive wisdom tradition in the world. According to the tradition itself, it's written down, the literatures were written down about 5,000 years ago. The language in which it's expressed is Sanskrit. Sanskrit means perfectly formed. The Sanskrit language is so extraordinarily scientific, beautifully formed, very, very consistent. And it's the source and root of all the Indo-European languages, all of the European languages, for example, and also many of the Indian languages. And we see that all of these languages, you can see that they're degradation products of the Sanskrit language. It's not that there's been a development from Sanskrit to the modern languages, but rather everything has come down from Sanskrit. The Sanskrit wisdom tradition, it covers all aspects of life, from health, psychology, economy, warfare, and it also gives a very, very broad spiritual framework, including meditation, mystical meditation, yoga, how to get mystical siddhis, perfections, mystical powers, and how to perceive the supreme consciousness in every atom and every heart, the heart of every living creature, and also how to make connection with the Supreme Personality, who's the source and basis of the whole universe. So this, the Vedic wisdom tradition, it gives principles, universal principles. It shows us how we can get certain knowledge, definite knowledge. And it gives a framework for peaceful and prosperous life, both for the individual and also for society as a whole. It's a complete framework, a complete system of knowledge and life. So the Vedic worldview is quite opposed to materialistic belief, doctrine. First point is that we're not this body. I have a body, but I'm not the body. I am the conscious entity within the body. The body is changing, and this self remains, my I-ness remains the same. I was 5, I was 10, I was 15, I was 20. Same I, but the body is changing and the mind is changing. So the body and the mind work on the basis of the individual conscious self. That's the first point. Second point is that the universe as a whole also works on the basis of the universal conscious self. So this universal conscious self, it's the source and the basis of the individual existence and of all the communities within the universe, and also the universe itself. Matter and the laws that govern matter, the laws of the universe. So matter is inert energy of the universal conscious self. And the living entity, the individual conscious entity, is conscious energy of the universal self. So in this way we see the universal self is regarded as the conscious energetic source, both of the conscious living entities and of dull matter, both.